My Sinister Hand here. You can see my Eurorack set up behind me. I've already outgrown the Eurorack Go case that I had, which I'm really happy with. A lot of power in it, holds a lot of modules, but already out of space. And I've supplemented with this little skiff that I put my sequencer modules in. But ideally, I want some room to grow. And I started looking at cases online, and I could not justify shelling out 400, 500, almost 800 bucks sometimes for a case. Knowing me, I decided, screw it, I'm gonna build one myself. So I started looking into different options, and I found some rails on synthrotech.com, some 104 HP long rails, and I got 2 sets because I'm gonna build a case that's 2 rows high, and I'm just gonna supplement what I have here instead of building one big case to hold everything, which initially I was gonna do, but it seemed to be a little too much to do power-wise. So decided to go with a small case. We'll go right above here, probably move my sequencer modules into it, and then maybe I can put a keyboard down here. I was thinking about doing 1/2-inch plywood because it's fairly cheap. But then I actually found in the garage I had a sheet of 3/4-inch plywood, and since I already had it, it's free, I'm gonna use that. I've done stuff like this before, so it shouldn't be too hard, but you never know, there's always unforeseen difficulties, right? So let's dig in and see how well it goes. So I got these rails from synthrotech.com. They're 104 HP long, they come in pairs, they come with some sliding nuts. I've got 25 in each, and as an option you can buy these spacer brackets, which only cost a couple bucks a piece, and actually it just makes life a hell of a lot easier when assembling a case because I won't have to measure out exactly module height and try to figure out how to get it screwed into the wood without it getting all wonky. So I decided to spend a couple extra bucks and save myself a lot of trouble. I bought 2 of these. And put together, these essentially will be the skeleton of my Eurorack case. So the rest of it will be built out of wood, so let's talk measurements. So having assembled the 2 sets of rails, I put them together and measured what I would need for my case. And height-wise, we are looking at 10 5/16 inch. And lengthwise, we're looking at 21 1/16. So pretty much, by my calculations, we need a 1 top, 1 bottom, which will actually be the 21 1/16 plus the 3/4 of the sides. Now, normally when you buy plywood or 2x4s and stuff like that, they're not true to the measurement that they say they are. But this 3/4-inch plywood, I actually measured it, and the thickness is dead on, so that makes my calculations a little easier. So what I did is I took my interior measurement left to right, and I just added 3/4-inch and 3/4-inch to it to get my 22 9/16 length for my bottom and my top. The sides will go inside of there, so we didn't have to do any math there. It's still going to be the 10 5/16 inch for the height of the rails. And then I decided to go with 5-inch deep on all the panels. So that'll give me enough room with even the thickest modules or deepest modules that I have. I should be able to accommodate them, as well as the power supply that'll be in there. There should be enough room for everything. And I've decided to cannibalize power supply out of this old 5U monster modular synth thing that I started building a few years back and kind of abandoned. So it's a free power supply. It's there for the taking, so I'm just going to cannibalize that and use that power supply. I'm going to need 1 backer piece, which would be 22 9/16 by 11 13/16. And essentially that measurement is our 10 5/16 plus 3/4 plus 3/4 to give us the overall dimensions for our backer piece.
Without space, without planning, the reality of our
before I install these, I need to install a couple rubber feet, and I've got these that I used on my old Monster case. I had a second set. These are just feet for guitar amps, so they work pretty good for plopping right down on the bottom here. And I'm going to use these little wood screws here to attach them. So that'll probably be the first thing I put on. The other thing I need to do before the rails go in is I scavenged this power supply from my old Monster 5U case that I had started. And I'm going to install this right about here, drill a hole in the back for the power socket, and then solder that up. I want to do all that before I put the rails in because the rails are just going to get in the way. So I think the first thing is let's put some feet on, then we'll install the power supply. I've got these little plastic standoffs to keep it off of the wood. There's two on there already from the previous install, and then these two. So two of them I'm going to actually screw through the back of the wood, put these screws in to hold two of the standoffs in place so this thing will be mounted to the back. Two should be sufficient. The other two will just be held in place there like that. So anyways, let's get started. I've decided this top side here looks the best. It looks better than this bottom, which is the wood was kind of funky here, and my screw holes are kind of fucked up here too. So this is the more decent looking of the top and bottom. So this will be the top. We will put the feet on the fucked up side. Essentially what I did here is I put a piece of tape just to mark how deep I want to go so I don't shoot through the inside of the case. Alright, there is some wobble there on this front end. So I think that's going to be too thick. Definitely don't want any wobble in the case because I'm going to be plugging and unplugging and all that. So I think I just need to put a washer on this front left foot here. All right, well, we'll save that for later. I might have to go buy some more washers. Need something maybe the diameter of that, maybe a little less than the diameter of this guy, just to bring it up a little bit. All right, well, let's move on. Let's do, the next step would be to install the power supply. And I'm putting the washer on. And you know what? I may have to recess it a little bit because the washer's not grabbing. All right, yeah, I'm gonna have to recess it. There's just not enough of the threads poking through for the washer to grab hold of. So we need to step up again and do a hole that'll be big enough for the sleeve or the collar of the socket to recede down into, but I don't want to go too far. So this is going to be, this is going to be sketchy. be a little bit of trial and error. I'm just gonna do a little bit at a time. Whew. That went too quick. It made it looser, but it's not big enough for the, damn. And I guess the washer will keep it tight, but I probably don't have the correct bit for this. All right, I'm gonna step up one more to my largest bit here. Come to think of it, I may have bought this to do the countersinking on my monster case. I don't know. All right. Got it on its lowest setting. Well, that did it. Chewed up the wood quite a bit, but it did it. And thread scrap. There you have it. You can see it's all chewed up there. But what can you do? What we're going to do is we're going to set this off the ground a bit. I'll put the power supply in here. Just mark it with the drill. Ooh, that one went farther than I wanted, but got our points. So now we drill all the way through. All right, so we got the bolts in there. Then what we want to do is put the two standoffs in there. They just screw on. So this is like a set of standoff, like plastic standoffs that I got probably from Amazon or something. I don't really, not 100% sure. I've had them for a while. Power supply goes in, line it up with the standoffs. So I could put two more screws in there to hold the bottom, but I think, especially if I've got a ribbon cable and I'm not plugging into the board directly, I think that little bit of play will be fine. I'll plug the two ribbon cables in and we'll plug in the ribbon cables as we're changing modules in and out. I think that'll be fine. We want to strip off about that much. Looks like the short peg, the short contact, is the ground. It's got the black wire on it still that I clipped off, and then the long is, yeah, is a positive. Not the most thorough way to do it, but I know this case worked, and that's how I had that case wired up. So let's proceed. All right, I got the wall warped for this guy. We'll plug it in. Okay. Let's some power. And we'll see if we blow her up. All right, looks like we got plus 12, negative 12, and plus 5 volts LEDs lit. Seems to be working properly. And no smoke, which is always a good sign. All right. So, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna kind of eyeball where these are gonna go, because it is actually a little loose. I'm hoping once I get the screws in that'll just kind of hold it in place. Hopefully it won't have any play, but I may need to put a shim outside of these brackets, perhaps on one side, maybe. I don't know. And I'm gonna inset it about a 1/4 inch. Granted, it's not gonna be a 1/4 inch all around because my craftsmanship on the woodwork here is shoddy, as I said, and this case is not exactly square. So we're gonna just eyeball this in here and kind of mark where the screw holes need to go. I think something like that. All right, so I'm going to use a silver Sharpie and mark them right there. All right, got my 4 holes marked. Let's pull this out. Hope this works. All right, that's pretty much it. I think a trip to the hardware store is in order to get a washer to put under this 1 foot to keep it from being so wobbly. Maybe some little clip or something to clamp back there to hold those two together. But we're pretty close. I'm gonna bring it inside, put some modules in it, power it up, see how well it does, see if there's any unforeseen problems, and then we'll go from there. All right, the case is all done. I've got it in place. You can see it's acting as my sequencer case. And I actually built two cases out of the materials I had. The one down here isn't completely finished yet. There's no rails or power supply. It's just acting as a stand for this one so that I can have the Eurorack Go case in the up position, which I prefer to the flat down position. So right now it's just acting as a stand, but eventually it will be a full working case. And I'd love to make a dedicated Behringer System 100 case. I've got so many of these modules, it'd be nice to have them all in one place and make it just look nice and uniform. So I think that's the fate of this case eventually. Now, one issue I did run into is the power supply I scavenged from my old case. It's not as beefy as I thought it was going to be. The modules you see right now, the sequencers and the dope for modules, is about all this power supply can do, which is surprising. I thought I was going to be able to get a lot more out of it. But if I add more modules, things start to get wonky voltage-wise. VCOs start sounding drunk, sequencers just start doing weird things. So I need to sort that out. And I was talking through with my dad, who's an electrical engineer, and I showed him the specs for the Frequency Central microbus board, and we came up with a couple ideas of some modifications we might be able to do to that board to get more power out of it. That'll be my next big project, and I'll make a video of that with the experimentation and the modifications that we're going to try. But power issues aside, I think this has been a worthwhile project. First off, it's pretty cheap. All said and done, I got away with spending only about 116 bucks. Of course, I had a lot of the material on hand already, the 3/4 inch plywood, the power supply, the rubber feet. But if you were going to build from scratch and had to buy all the materials, I think you could still get away pretty cheap. Because you're looking at 30 bucks for a 2 foot by 4 foot sheet of the 3/4 inch plywood, which is the tops and sides. And then for the backer, the 1/4 inch plywood is only about 20 bucks. And the rubber feet on Amazon, less than 5 bucks. The microbus power supply you can buy fully assembled for about 73 bucks. Or if you buy just the PCB, you source the components yourself and you build it yourself, you could get away with spending only maybe 20 bucks. A quart of black paint runs about $17, and a quart of polyacrylic for the clear coat, another $17, $18. So all in all, maybe 250 bucks you could spend. But keep in mind, that's going to give you one completely finished case and then 2 or 3 other cases minus the power and rails. It was definitely some hard work, but I'm happy with the way it turned out. I learned some lessons, some things I'll do next time that I didn't do this time, and vice versa. For instance, the 1/4 inch plywood that I bought for the backers, the type of wood that I got, it just splinters really bad when you start working with it, so I wasn't happy with that. I may look into a higher grade plywood for the backers in the future. I think it might be worth spending some extra cash on that. But all in all, a success, I think. This case and the one below it has allowed me to expand my modular setup, and it's going to give me room to grow in the future, which I needed. I hope you found this video helpful. Be on the lookout for the other video with the power supply modifications. But until then, my sinister hand.